From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, this is Dateline Malacañang, and here are the news. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. expressed his full support for the modernization of the Philippine Coast Guard or PCG to better protect the country's maritime domain. On the sidelines of the PCG's 122nd founding anniversary celebration at South Harbor's Pier 15 in Port Area, Manila, President Marcos emphasized the need to improve the Coast Guard's capabilities to enable them to defend the country's maritime security and rights.
The training and the capabilities of all our people, especially the Coast Guard, not only because they are on the front line in the problems now that we're facing in the West Philippine Sea, but also because of the very important function that they play when it comes to search and rescue, when it comes to maritime incidents, when it comes to even disaster assistance. Marami silang ginagawa. So we are continuing to the new vessel that we are seeing there, the 40-foot vessel that's made in Cebu. Yan ang isa sa ating mga idadagdag natin. We will eventually have 40 of them, and that will give us an increased capability. This is ongoing. The Philippines is lucky, as we have many friends around the world, and marami sa ating mga kaibigan na karatig bansa, at kahit na yung galing sa malalayo ay tinutulungan tayo para pagandahin at patibayin ang ating Coast Guard.
In his keynote speech, the president thanked the PCG for its efforts to protect the country's vast maritime territory as well as Filipino fisherfolks. The chief executive said that Coast Guard personnel's integrity, discipline, and professionalism have helped his administration advance its collective vision of a stronger, more harmonious, and more resilient Philippines. President Marcos urged the PCG to continue its close coordination with other concerned agencies as it fulfills its extremely valuable and important mandate.
Thank you to our Transportation Secretary Jimmy Bautista. Please take your seats. The excellencies of the diplomatic corps, who I see are here today, all present and correct. Also, I'd like to greet Senator Francis Tolentino, who has always been a great supporter of our men in uniform. The Philippine Coast Guard Commandant, Admiral Artemio Abu. The officers, enlisted personnel, and awardees of the Philippine Coast Guard Anniversary Awards, my congratulations. Fellow workers in government, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today, we celebrate the rich legacy of the Philippine Coast Guard as we mark its 122nd founding anniversary. It is a good time to congratulate the gallant men and women of our Tanod Baybayin for reaching another milestone in the long and illustrious service of our Coast Guard. Let me first offer my profound appreciation on behalf of a grateful nation to the PCG for providing steadfast service and dedication to duty during times of calamity, for upholding our country's maritime security and promoting our maritime rights, for fighting against the entry of smuggled goods, for protecting our marine environment, and for securing the safety of our fisherfolk as they pursue their means of livelihood. Your integrity, your discipline, and professionalism in the performance of your mandate have helped us further our collective vision of a stronger, more harmonious, and more resilient Philippines. The Philippine Coast Guard remains steadfast in assuming a pivotal role in our continued promotion and protection of our country's sovereignty, sovereign rights, and jurisdiction, and in being at the forefront of our efforts to ensure that our fishers and their fishing rights are respected and recognized throughout our vast maritime areas. All these efforts by the Philippine Coast Guard, while spearheading our marine environment protection and conservation efforts and ensuring the safety and welfare of all those who ply our waters, are deeply appreciated. Suffice to say, your accomplishments in the performance of your duty have consistently championed our country and our people's rights and welfare in the face of daunting adversity and difficulties. Despite all the challenges, the Coast Guard has unwaveringly answered the call of duty. For all of these and for more, I thank you. As we embark on a new chapter, I enjoin all of you to continue to work closely with other concerned agencies as you perform this extremely valuable and important mandate. Be assured that this administration firmly stands with you in your plans and efforts to improve, expand, and modernize the capabilities and services so that you may better contribute to the security and welfare of our people and of the nation. Together, let us consolidate and harness our strengths to ensure that every Filipino can reap the gains of our endeavors as well as lead more productive and dignified lives. Let us sail together in unity and harmony towards a more empowered, progressive, and sustainable future. Once again, congratulations to the Philippine Coast Guard on your 122nd funding anniversary. Mabuhay ang tanod baybayin ng Pilipinas. Maraming salamat po.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has ordered the suspension of the Implementing Rules and Regulations, or IRR, of Republic Act or RA 11954, or the Maharlika Investment Fund or MIF Act of 2023, Malacañang announced on Wednesday. In an October 12 memorandum signed by Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin by authority of the President, the Bureau of Treasury or BTR, in coordination with the Land Bank of the Philippines or LBP and the Development Bank of the Philippines or DBP, was directed to suspend the implementation of the IRR of RA 11954 pending further study thereof. The memorandum also mandates the BTR to notify all concerned heads of departments, bureaus, offices, and other agencies of the Executive Department, including government-owned or controlled corporations or GOCCs, about the suspension of the implementation of MIF law. The memorandum, which takes effect immediately, was addressed to BTR Officer in Charge Sharon Almanza, LBP President and Chief Executive Officer CEO Lynette Ortiz, and DBB President and CEO Michael De Jesus. In a statement, the Office of the Executive Secretary said the directive was to make sure that there will be safeguards to ensure the proper use of Maharlika Fund. Under RA 11954, inked by President Marcos on July 18, the MIF is established to optimize national funds by generating returns to support the Marcos administration's economic goals laid out in the medium-term fiscal framework, the 8-point socio-economic agenda, and the Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028. According to the law, the MIF will be used to invest in a wide range of assets, including foreign currencies, fixed income instruments, domestic and foreign corporate bonds, real estate, and high-impact infrastructure projects that contribute to the attainment of sustainable development. The BTRE issued the IRR of the MIF Act on August 28 following consultations with founding government financial institutions or GFIs, LBP, DBP, and a technical working group consisting of the Department of Finance or DOF, Department of Budget and Management or DBM, Securities and Exchange Commission or SEC, National Economic and Development Authority or NEDA, Office of the Government Corporate Council or OGCC, and the Governance Commission for GOCC's GCG.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, said that the Israeli government has promised to secure once the border is open for foreigners, including Filipinos, or rather, promised to secure the crossing between Gaza and Egypt once the border is opened for foreigners, including Filipinos looking for a way out of the besieged enclave. This was assured by Israeli Ambassador to the Philippines Ilan Fluz after his meeting with Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo at the DFA office in Pasay City. DFA Undersecretary Eduardo Jose de Vega said Israel and Egypt are coordinating to ensure that no members of the Hamas militant group will cross the borders. De Vega added that once nationals get to the Egyptian side of the border, the Egyptians will immediately process their arrival. There are 135 Filipinos still inside Gaza Strip, one of the two territories under the state of Palestine, with some 78 already near the Rafah border with Egypt. The number rose from the 131 Filipinos earlier reported after the DFA identified 4 more within the enclave last October 17.
Dateline Malacañang.
In a related story, Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA Undersecretary Eduardo Jose de Vega said, while dozens of Filipinos are waiting for the Rafah border in Egypt to open, food is running low as the blockade is hampering the passage of supplies. De Vega said they also received the report that one of them has resorted to eating expired bread in order to get by. The DFA Undersecretary added that Philippine officials from Amman, Jordan, are also not allowed to enter in order to help the Filipino nationals. But De Vega said talks between Egypt and Israel are continuous to allow the safe passage of foreigners out of the enclave. The Rafah border between Egypt and Gaza, as well as the Kerem Shalom crossing from Gaza to Israel, both in the southern portion of the coastal strip, remain closed. De Vega said the names of Filipinos registered for evacuation have been submitted to the Egyptian government for consideration. Meanwhile, De Vega said 3 Filipinos in Israel are still missing since October 7, but said there is still no confirmation whether they are among the people abducted by the Hamas group into Gaza Strip. The bodies of the 2 of the 3 Filipino fatalities, on the other hand, are expected to be repatriated within the month. De Vega said that the other casualty will be cremated and will be brought home by his wife around November.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, said Israel must ensure that its actions, amid its continuing offensive against the Hamas militant group, follow international humanitarian law and that no civilians are targeted. DFA Undersecretary Eduardo Jose de Vega in a radio interview said Manila, which has recently made a bid to get one of the non-permanent member seats at the United Nations Security Council, or UNSC, would also follow any resolution the body would adopt in response to the escalating conflict. The UN said around 1 million civilians in Gaza have been uprooted in the last week after Israel warned of an imminent offensive following the deadly October 7 Hamas attacks on southern Israel. Based on its latest data, some 1,300 Israeli citizens and a reported 2,750 people in Gaza have been killed since the war broke out. 14 staff from the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees have also been killed. The UNSC has earlier rejected a Russian resolution on Gaza over the lack of specific condemnation of Hamas. The draft text had called for a humanitarian ceasefire, release of all hostages, aid access and safe evacuation of civilians, but made no mention of the group. Only 5 countries voted for the draft, which are China, Gabon, Mozambique, Russia, and the United Arab Emirates, and 4 others voted against it. These countries are France, Japan, the United Kingdom, and the United States. 6 countries abstained. Meanwhile, a minimum of 9 votes in favor with none of its 5 permanent members, France, US, China, Russia, and the UK opposing or casting a veto is needed for the Council to adopt a resolution. De Vega confirmed that the designation of Hamas as a terrorist organization was discussed during a meeting between Israeli Ambassador Ilan Flus and DFA Secretary Enrique Manalo on October 17. But he pointed out that only the Philippine Anti-Terrorism Council could designate the group as a terrorist.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Israel Defense Force, or IDF, lauded the Filipino people for their resiliency and strength amid the chaos brought about by the ongoing conflict between the Israeli government and the Palestinian militant group Hamas. IDF spokesperson Major Libby Weiss said she does not pretend to know, but from what she knows after the horrors of Typhoon Yolanda, she knows that the Filipinos are very strong people like Israelis. Vice's statement came after she was asked in a virtual conference on Wednesday about the condition of the Filipinos in Israel amid a conflict with Hamas militants. She was part of the Israeli contingent that helped the Philippines following the Super Typhoon Yolanda aftermath in Tacloban City in 2013. In the same virtual press conference sponsored by the Israeli Embassy in Manila, Vice gave updates on the situation of Filipinos in Israel. She said that everyone in Israel is distraught, including Filipinos and all other foreign nationals in the country. Thousands of Israelis, including 3 Filipinos, were killed when the Hamas militants attacked more than 30 communities in southern Israel on Saturday. Vice reiterated that the Israeli forces are calling on their citizens, including the Filipino people, to move away from any area where there could be strikes or anything that the Hamas could spur danger to the people. She added that the goal of the IDF is now to ensure that Hamas can never strike back by eliminating their military capability to carry out attacks against Israel and others. Vice also emphasized that she wanted to see to it that all hostages will be sent home safely by Hamas. Asked if there are safety measures or evacuation plans in place for foreign nationals, Vice deferred the matter to the embassies as it is a special concern on a diplomatic level, but emphasized that lines of communication are open.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, said that the Board of Investments, or BOI, has approved a total of 734 billion pesos worth of investments from January to September 2023. In a palace briefing after the sectoral meeting with Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., DTI Undersecretary Seferino Rodolfo said the latest BOI-approved investments are higher by 102% than the 362 billion pesos reported during the same period last year. Rodolfo said 427 billion pesos of the approved investments are foreign direct investments, or FDIs. Undersecretary Rodolfo attributed the increase in FDIs to the president's overseas trips, where he met with business leaders. He added foreign investment approvals expanded their share to 60% from the previous 20% following the easing of government restrictions on foreign equities. The DTI Undersecretary said around 90% of the approved foreign investments will be allocated for the development of renewable energy, or RE. Rodolfo said about 80% of the BOI-approved FDIs will come from Germany, followed by East Asian countries such as Japan and South Korea. Investments from Germany were a result of President Marcos's visit to Brussels, Belgium in December of 2022.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Budget and Management, or DBM, said that the Marcos administration will come up with a public financial management or PFM reforms roadmap, which will contain policies and strategies on digitalization. In a statement, the DBM said the adoption of the Integrated Financial Management Information System, or PFM reforms, which will contain policies and strategies on the digitalization. In a statement, the DBM said the adoption of the Integrated Financial Management Information System, or IFMIs, and the Budget and Treasury Management System, or BTMS, would be included in the national roadmap that will be created by the PFM Committee. The PFM Committee, formed in 2011 under Executive Order or EO 55, is composed of representatives from the DBM, Department of Finance, Commission on Audit, and Bureau of the Treasury. In June this year, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. issued EO 29, directing the full digitalization of PFM processes through the adoption of the IFMIS throughout the bureaucracy. Under EO 29, the PFM Committee is directed to re-engineer PFM processes and IFMIS. The IFMIS facilities the generation of, or rather, the IFMIS facilitates the generation of vital information on all aspects of government financial transactions to be made publicly accessible through information technology. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, Fiscal Division, during one of the recent sessions of the IMF World Bank annual meeting in Marrakesh, Morocco, commended the Philippines for proactively improving its PFM systems through digital transformation. In the same capacity development session, DBM Principal Economist Joselito Basilio stressed the importance of adopting government tech or GovTech solutions in the digital transformation of PFM processes across government agencies. Basilio said the DBM will continue collaborating with the IMF to ensure that international standards are met. The DBM sought partnerships with development partners, such as the IMF, to provide technical assistance in designing and formulating strategies to modernize the PFM systems and improve interoperability. The Philippine delegation, headed by Finance Secretary Benjamin Jokno, attended the Morocco meetings from October 9 to 15 and met with development partners, central bankers, private sector executives, and other stakeholders from around the world to discuss the country's strong macroeconomic fundamentals, growth outlook, and investment opportunities.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang issued Memorandum Circular, or MC number 37, directing urgent implementation of the government's National Anti-Money Laundering Counter-Terrorism Financing and Counter-Proliferation Financing Strategy 2023 to 2027, or the AML-CTF-CPF, and calling on concerned agencies to support efforts in fighting money laundering and terrorism financing risk assessment. The memorandum read that in accordance with their respective mandate, all concerned departments, agencies, bureaus, and instrumentalities of the national government, including government-owned or controlled corporations or GOCCs, are directed, and all the local government units or LGUs are encouraged to immediately and timely formulate plans and programs to implement NACS 2023 to 2027 National AML-CTF-CPF strategy, particularly its strategic objective number 1. The circular, signed by Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, also tasked all agency heads to review and assess their deliverables under the ICRG Action Plan, assign focal persons to complete the deliverables by 30 of November 2023 and establish a mechanism to monitor the progress of each deliverable. The National AML CTF CPF Coordinating Committee or NACC Secretariat was directed to furnish all concerned agencies of the respective deliverables and office targets under the International Cooperation Review Group or ICRG action plans, and other relevant documents including pertinent NACC resolutions. The memorandum also directed the AMLC to submit to the Office of the Executive Secretary, through the Office of the Deputy Executive Secretary for Legal Affairs, a comprehensive report on the status of the implementation of the NACS 2023-2027, particularly the Strategic Objective 1, on or before December 8, 2023. The AMLC will also serve as the lead agency of the TF-NRA Working Group and formulate and issue guidelines for the effective implementation of the circular. The Council may also call government department agency including GOCCs and also invite LGUs and the private sector to provide assistance in attaining its objectives subject to current laws and rules. The Memorandum Circular's implementation will be funded through the respective appropriations of concerned government agencies and the corporate operating budgets of concerned GOCCs. Under EO 33, the National AML CTF CPF Strategy or NAC's 2023 to 2027 was adapted to enable the Philippines to address the ICRG action plans, ensure that the country exits the FATC gray list, and improve its AML CTF CPF regime. The order also provides that the AMLC Secretariat will also serve as a secretariat of the NACC and shall provide technical and administrative support to the NACC. As of September 2023, out of 18 ICRG action plans, the Philippines must still address 8 plans for it to exit the FATF gray list by January of 2024.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang announced that Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has named Brigadier General Jesus Nelson Morales of the Philippine Air Force or PAF as the new head of the Presidential Security Group or PSG. In a statement, Communications Secretary Cheloy Garafil said that Brigadier General took the place of Brigadier General Ramon Zagala. Morales served as a deputy wing commander of the PAF's or PAF's Tactical Operations Wing Eastern Mindanao, based in Davao City. Garafil said Zagala would assume his new role as commander of the Civil Relations Service of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Zagala comes from a family whose military heritage spans 3 generations. His grandfather, Colonel Ramon Zagala, and father, Major General Rafael Zagala. He entered the officer candidate school in 1993 and became his class's first captain, earning him the Chief of Staff Sabre. He was commissioned to the regular force on August 9, 1994. After he graduated from the Officer Candidate School in 1994, Zagala was assigned to different Army and General Headquarter units.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, for Dateline Malacañang, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has appointed Dr. Sanjay Claudio, a former dean and current Quality Assurance Director of the Polytechnic University of the Philippines or PUP, as a member of the PTV Board of Directors. The President designated Claudio as a representative from the educational sector at the PTV4, which is mandated to serve as a vehicle for bringing the government closer to the people to enhance their awareness of the state's programs, policies, thrusts, and directions. After his appointment, Dr. Claudio took his oath before Philippine Presidential Communications Office PCO Secretary Cheloy Velicario Garafil. He is currently the director of the PUP Quality Assurance Center or QAC, tasked to assist PUP in accreditation, program improvement, governance, policy decisions, and international collaboration for quality assurance. Under his leadership, PUP and PUP-QAC recognized by various academic institutions. Before his designation at PUP-QAC, Dr. Claudio, who holds a Doctor in Public Administration degree, serves as a Dean of the PUP College of Political Science and Public Administration. He is a career executive service eligible and a full-time professor of PUP teaching public administration subjects. Just like Secretary Garafil, Claudio is a reservist of the Philippine Air Force, holding the rank of Lieutenant Colonel.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that is all for today's Dateline Malacañang for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This has been Bea Gaza.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.